The retreat to the desert for 40 days? Why did the prophets and Yahushua do it? Is it a command or inspiration? In the case of Moshe, Yahweh told him to go up the mountain, and he stayed there for 40 nights. When he broke those tablets, he had to go back up again, and that was to represent two manifestations of the Almighty on earth. Those two times that Moshe came down from the mountain, after 40 days and 40 nights, represent 40 jubilees, the 2,000 years between the first and second manifestation. There he was told to go back up to make the tablets. Then we see Yahushua, the angel warns him and tells him that the path he was going to take would end up lasting 40 days without eating, so he should prepare himself. So he told him to eat plenty before those 40 days. So it's not necessarily like a mandate, but there is a warning before. On the other hand, with Yahushua seems to have been inspired by the Ruah after having been immersed in the Yarden, having been immersed by Yahuhana, the universe, John the Baptist. The scripture says that upon coming out of the immersion, the next thing, and not necessarily on the same day, but what follows in the story is that after being immersed in the Yarden, he was driven by the Ruach into the desert, where he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights. These were 40 days and 40 nights right before starting his ministry, and all indications point to it being the 31 days of Elul and the first 9 of the 7th month, Etanim, which would make 40 by Yom Kippur. If that's the case, it would have led him to Pesach 3.5 years later. In the case of the two witnesses, if everything starts, it seems to indicate at Pesach it would end at Yom Kippur, meaning like a mirror to how it happened with Moshe. Why did the prophets do it? Was it a purification? Was it a test? Without a doubt. We see that Yahushua was tested after having spent 40 days, 40 nights. It says that he was tempted 3 times by Satan. So in a certain way, those 40 days brought Yahushua to a point where one could say he was weak enough to be tempted, but he still did not fall because he managed to pass the 3 temptations of Satan. In the case of Moshe, he did it because he had to bring the Torah. They say in Buddhism that he ascended not only to the mountain, but to heaven itself. And while being in heaven, time works differently. So those 40 days and 40 nights would have been different for him. And since in heaven you don't eat, that's why they say Moshe didn't eat, but that would indicate he was in a higher state and possibly didn't feel hunger. So those 40 days and 40 nights would have been different for him. And since in heaven you don't eat, that's why they say Moshe didn't eat, but that would indicate he was in a higher state and possibly didn't feel hunger. Now, I don't want to take away any honor from Moshe at all. I believe he would have definitely been able to do it physically as well. I simply mention what is discussed in Judaism, and it has a certain truth to it, so to speak, because just as the angels come to this earth and eat, like when they ate with Abraham, when men go to heaven, they don't eat. Just like the angels who don't eat in heaven come to this earth and eat, the men who eat on this earth, when they go to heaven, don't eat because time changes. So it would be like time doesn't pass. Are you satisfied in your stomach? Obviously, he will be satisfied. So, as I was saying, it serves for purification, testing, and as I also mentioned regarding Moshe, that possibility, well, he has felt heaven itself, you sin.